and, of course, irregular migration across the English Channel.
The king has no mandate to force us to be globalists, to force us to be part of a post-nation world. Many of us are proud to be British, many of us are proud to be English, many of us are proud of our heritage, our lineage, our ancestry, our history, our culture, and our faith. And if the king isn't, perhaps it's time for him to abdicate.
There are days when my heart aches that we no longer have Queen Elizabeth II as our head of state. I'm sure you agree. I mean, this woman was the walking, talking definition of anti-woke. A woman who would never put her personal passions or her personal thoughts ahead of the importance of keeping our monarchy politically neutral. Sadly, the same cannot be said for her son, King Charles III. Now, my position on this has been clear. I am a royalist, I am a monarchist, and I pray that our monarch survives and thrives. God save the king, because I believe in the institution. But as an independent journalist, I also believe in holding power to account. And as it stands, Charles is risking our entire system of government. Now, this is not new. This has always been a huge concern of mine, and I have been public about it. Sadly, my column for the Daily Mail, when I was still operating within the MSM in June 2022, looks particularly prescient now, when after the Prince, then Prince of Wales, slammed Boris Johnson's Rwanda scheme, I wrote, "As a royalist, I hate to say it, but I'm beginning to doubt that Prince Charles has the capacity to become King Charles III without threatening the future of the British monarchy." Now, Charles had an impressive start under the Tories, where his political interference remained at a low level. But sadly, he has been empowered by this socialist mob, this Labour government mob, as he cozies up to the hard left cabinet agitators Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband. Just this week, the king used the 7/7 20th anniversary to accuse those challenging Islamism of stoking division, while skipping the memorial service for the 52 innocents killed that day by Islamist terrorists at St. Paul's Cathedral. That came after months of what has felt like the Church of England boss becoming increasingly positive and increasingly, I would argue, backing Islam over our national religion. Then last night, at the state banquet, where Slippery Starmer rolled out the red carpet for that short little traitor and sleazeball Emmanuel Macron, who is allowing an invasion into our country of terrorists, rapists, and murderers on a daily basis, he declared, our head of state actually declared, that there are no borders between our two countries. Now, Your Majesty, I respect your role, but that is very dangerous talk. Because without borders, there is no kingdom. Which not just means that you would be out of a job, but means our entire country is unprotected. Then, delivering his speech at the state banquet, he decided to use Slippery Starmer's new term for the invasion, irregular migration, instead of calling it what it actually is, illegal. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
Will work together to defend the international rule of law and the multilateral system. Our security services and police will go further still to protect us against the profound challenges of terrorism, organised crime, cyber attacks, and, of course, irregular migration across the English Channel.
And with that, the gloves finally came off. Stephen Barrett posted, "The king must not be political. The king is impartial, non-partisan, loyal to all his subjects, and in turn the people and the armed forces are loyal to him. The king should not be being used the way he is being used." Adam Brooks wrote, "I really dislike our king. Stay out of politics. You don't speak for the majority of us, Charles. Hashtag woke king." And even the next leader of the Conservatives, Robert Jenrick, refused to defend the king this morning on Talk.
He said that word irregular, Robert. I wish people wouldn't use that. Macron used it as well. Why do they keep pretending it's not illegal?
Oh, look, it drives me mad. That is what all of these international courts and organisations like to say. It's what Starmer says, because they cannot bring themselves to say that it is illegal to break into another country. If you or I did it, of course we'd expect to be arrested if we broke into the United States or another country. It's obviously against the law. It's been against the law in our country for a very long time, my whole lifetime. We should just have the honesty to say it. And in fact, I changed the law when I was immigration minister to say that if you do enter our country illegally, for example, on a small boat, you should never, ever have the right to claim asylum. Starmer has repealed that, or is in the process of doing that with his borders bill. Completely wrong. We need to send a very clear message to people thinking of doing this. You will never have a right to live in our country.
Even one of the establishment's most prominent columnists, Sarah Vine, then slammed Charles as woke.
They're not. They're bleeding regular. They come every day.
I have to say, I'm a bit worried about the level of wokeness coming out of the palace at the moment. I don't really. I mean, you know, he could have said uncontrolled migration. That would have been fine.
What's wrong with illegal? That's what they are, isn't it?
Okay, if you wanted to soften it, you could have softened it like that. Instead of which he goes, you know, he parrots the Labour line.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I don't. The king should be neutral.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be. I mean, and we all know that Charles has got he's quite a soft-hearted man. That's completely fine. But it just seemed to me that he was just being quite woke, and I don't want that from my king.
No,
Sorry.
I don't. I mean, if it was the
Because Starmer is not a royalist, and you know you're just you know you're messing your patch if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. And you're sort of playing into the hands of the people who think that there's a conspiracy by the establishment in this country.
Well, I'm sorry, I do not believe it is some sort of globalist conspiracy to say those in power no longer want to stop the invasion. These puppets have made it clear they do not believe in borders. That's why they put our country at risk. And none of the defeatist language from the king has done our country any good, as Macron still ended up blaming Slippery Starmer for the migrant crisis. And as Alex Phillips put it, Macron is right. The UK must stop being the El Dorado of illegal migrants. Compare where they live in Calais to full board hotels with free phones, driving lessons, yoga classes, pocket money, freebies, and black market jobs in Britain. We are in deep trouble. And we need the king to stop giving into woke forces and start standing up for his country and our borders, which must be defended. Now, the Superstar panel. Ellie Hodges, political commentator, and Father Calvin Robinson join me now. Father Calvin, the woke king. How much does this put our United Kingdom and our entire system at risk?
It puts our very way of life at risk, unfortunately. And this is not the latest mishap. He also made some disturbing comments over the 7/7 bombings, didn't he? But he's actually quite right. There is no border between France and Britain. But this is the problem. This is the problem that many of us want addressing. There should be a border because, as you quite rightly point out, there is no such thing as a kingdom without borders. There's no nation without borders. And so if we want to become a member of the United States of Europe, if we want to be globalists, part of a wider federation, fair enough. But I believe the people of Britain voted against that in 2016. And the establishment, from the politicians to the monarchy, have been fighting against it ever since. The king has no mandate to force us to be globalists, to force us to be part of a post-nation world. Many of us are proud to be British, many of us are proud to be English, many of us are proud of our heritage, our lineage, our ancestry, our history, our culture, and our faith. And if the king isn't, perhaps it's time for him to abdicate.
Ellie Hodges, so good to have you on Outspoken for the first time. Are you a supporter of the monarchy?
Yes, I am. I really am. But I'm not a supporter of King Charles, and I think that a lot of people feel that way. And with his recent speech, it's just that word, irregular, again. I hate that word. It is not irregular, it is illegal. And even if you want to kind of soften things up and say it's irregular, it still doesn't make any sense. In the first 6 months of this year, we had over 20,000 people come up on our shores. That is not irregular. There's people coming on a daily basis. So in no way at all can it be classed as irregular. But I do think that we've all known that the king is woke. He has been for ages. He was woke before it was considered cool. He did an interview in the 80s saying about how he talks to his plants and he feels like they respond. So this isn't anything particularly new, but I understand completely why everyone's so outraged about it.
But first, do you ever wonder why it's so hard to sleep when you're stressed? Well, it turns out there's a feedback between sleep and cortisol. So the less sleep you get, the more cortisol your body produces. And the more cortisol you have, especially at night, the harder it is to fall asleep or stay asleep. It's like a stress-sleep trap you can't get out of. Most people aren't pulling all-nighters, they're just chronically underslept, which means they're walking around with mid to high levels of cortisol all the time. And that spills into the night, resulting in light sleep, a restless mind, and waking up wired at 2 a.m. It's not just a sleep issue, it's a stress physiology issue. That's why I use Evening Bean by Verso. It contains clinically studied ingredients shown in humans to reduce stress and anxiety, lower cortisol, support brain resilience under pressure, and regulate your body's natural stress response. Together, they not only help you feel calmer and improve mood, but also promote deep, restorative sleep so you can finally stop walking through life in a constant state of stress and high cortisol and start feeling like yourself again. After taking Evening Bean, I see myself being able to fall asleep faster and stay asleep all night. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, I can fall back asleep. So click the link in the show description or head on over to evening.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code outspoken at checkout to save 15% on your first order. Try Evening Bean tonight. Wake up feeling refreshed tomorrow. That's evening.ver.so/outspoken. Remember to use the coupon code outspoken at checkout and you will save 15%. But now back to the show. Yeah, I mean, I do understand that. Absolutely, I do. Father Calvin, of course, amongst the Outspoken audience, there has been real concerns about the proximity that Charles seems to be getting, especially to Islam. And I think that's why the 7-7 statement yesterday was a bit of a dagger to people, actually, because it's like, what? What? You're blaming us for the division? You're not blaming the homegrown Islamists who want to blow us up and on 7-7 actually did blow us up into smithereens?
Always the way, isn't it? That statement, while the horrors will never be forgotten, we may take comfort from the way such events rally communities together in solidarity, solace, etc., etc. We reaffirm our commitment to building a society where people of all faiths and backgrounds can live together. I don't know when we made that commitment. I don't want to reaffirm a commitment to build a society for people of all faiths. I believe our society is a Christian nation. We have Christian values. That doesn't mean that everyone has to subscribe to that, but we all have to agree that those are the values that our nation was built upon. And I don't believe in a multi-faith society. I don't believe in a multicultural society. I don't believe those things exist and or function well. I think you need a predominant culture, a predominant faith. Ours is the British culture, the English culture, and the English faith, which is Christianity. This watering down, this diluting of everything that is English and British and Christian is against our way of life. And this is the king's job, to protect our way of life. He's supposed to be a symbol of all things British and of all things English and of all things Christian. He is, of course, the supreme governor of the Church of England. He swears a pledge of allegiance not just to the people of this land, but to the Christian God in both England and in Scotland in its different traditions. So he's kind of undermining his own role in this. And I'm with Ellie entirely in that the language is problematic, because not only is he leaning towards Islam at every approach, and we saw this throughout Eid, we saw it throughout Ramadan, we saw that he makes very little effort over Easter, but promotes Islam at every opportunity, from packing dates for the Mohammedans during Ramadan to making statements about Easter that include Islam somehow. But not only is the language problematic from that angle, but in this latest statement, which he does have full authority over, this speech that he made in the French visit, is a king's speech that he can write and or have the final edit over. It's not like the king's speech in Parliament, which is written for him by the Prime Minister. This is his own words, his own sign-off. And so for him to suggest somehow that we have no border and that our country isn't sovereign is him undermining that very authority of himself and our nation. It's absurd. It really is. I don't know where he's coming from. It seems to me that he's gone wet. Yes, he has always been woke, but it seems that he's gone even further down that rabbit hole of disliking our nation, which is what the liberal elites like, the metropolitan liberal elites. Our former queen and our former queen's consort were very sound on this kind of stuff, and we know Prince Philip was very much against anything that was woke, anything that was progressive. It seems that the king didn't learn a lesson or two from his late beloved father.
Well, the whole point of the monarchy is to keep traditions going. So if they sign up to a woke ideology, it's like, you do realise you are writing your own death warrant. That's what's going on. And the reporting actually from within government is particularly fascinating when it comes to King Charles. This decision to cozy up with Ed Miliband and turn Angela Rayner into your new little project is terrifying. It does suggest that Starmer wants this government, that Charles wants this government to be even more to the left than where Starmer is at. We need to talk about this sleazeball, though. This complete sleazeball Macron. Now, I want to show you his behavior at the state banquet last night. So remember, his trans wife is sitting across from him, and is quite a big distance. And so he decides to be, in my view, completely inappropriate with Catherine, the Princess of Wales, remembering that this is her first state banquet appearance since 2023, the first time wearing the tiara. He's clearly completely enamored with her, is openly flirting with William and Brigitte on the other side of the table. He then winks at her. And remember, earlier in the day, he had already kissed her hand. And I know that is a French custom. But to me, this behavior, Ellie, was sleazy. It was creepy. And given everything that's been going on with Emmanuel Macron's personal life recently, given the fact that this so-called trans woman slapped him as he was getting off the plane the other day, could he not just behave for one night, especially around the Princess of Wales, who's making her first big appearance?
It just embodies kind of everything he's about. It's just absolutely no respect whatsoever. He kind of gives off such an arrogant approach to everything. And I don't even really understand why we're rolling out the red carpet for him anyway. The UK has committed nearly £770 million to France since 2018 to tackle our small boat crisis. And I think we need to ask for our money back, not roll out the red carpet at all. And that behaviour is just disgusting, and it looks awful as well.
Father Calvin, what do you make of the behaviour of Macron, who, let's be honest, has a very unusual personal life? I mean, it was unusual before these French journalists decided to look into the past of Brigitte Macron, who was most likely a man. But why on earth are you flirting with Catherine? Why on earth are you winking with Catherine? With your wife across the table? It's almost like he gets off on it. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I think it was uncouth. I think he went against protocol, and there's very clear etiquette on how to greet the princess herself. I don't know if he was flirting. I think Macron is homosexual. I don't know if he would be flirting with princess, but it certainly wasn't appropriate behavior.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. Avatar, by the way, has sent a super chat in on this saying, Charles, I funded wars with our money. Anyway, Charles III is the traitor king, the Islamic king. Should we taboo the name Charles from the monarchy? Feels like it. Sorry, I've just realised what Avatar was saying. He doesn't mean Charles I funded wars. Of course, he means Charles the First funded wars with our money. Sorry, I was a bit stupid there, but very, very good point. And by
Charles
the way,
I also died for the faith. He's a martyr. King Charles the Martyr. I think he went against the establishment when it wanted him to take the church woke. He fought and died for the church and for the Christian faith. So I actually have a lot of respect for King Charles I and King Charles II. I think King Charles III is dirtying and sullying the name, the great name.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.